As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar. Zero patience for slow walkers. Those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night. Have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to How Are the Podcast, and you join us with most of the international break behind us so we can begin to get back to looking where Sunderland stand and focus on the upcoming trip to Crystal Palace a little bit. And we'll have a lot of previewing the game to come this week, but to gauge the potential mood of the Sunderland players as we look to get back to Premier League action, we couldn't have thought of a better person than the one who spoke to them after the previous game against Brentford to speak to today, because today we're very pleased to have a good friend of the podcast, of How Are the Podcast, and of course he is also the North East reporter for both BBC and Premier League Productions. It's Andy Sixsmith. Hello, Andy.
Hello, Chris. I must say straight away, I'm absolutely gobsmacked that you've even asked me back to this podcast. You must not know the rule of once you invite me onto a podcast once, I never get an invite back. So I'm delighted to be back. I just don't understand the reasoning for doing it.
I'm already looking forward to giving you your hat-trick ball on our next one. You know,
wait until what I say over the next 40 minutes or so before you do. You go after that.
We're gonna have to start thinking about that. I don't know if we've had people on for a third one. We're gonna have to think about seeing what we do for that one. But how's it going?
It's going really, really well, mate. Literally had a nice couple of days off with Rebecca, my fiance. We scooted across to Wales and saw her parents, which is a really, really nice change of scenery away from the northeast. Do love a bit of Wales, but it was nice just to switch off from football a little bit. I was just saying to you off microphone, off camera there. It's been only 3 weeks of a new season and 3 match rounds, but it's already felt like about 7 or 8 weeks, such has been the kind of varying stories that have been experienced in the Northeast and the world of Northeast football, obviously, with what the brilliant things that are happening at Sunderland, which obviously we'll talk about over the next half hour, 40 minutes. What's happening, obviously, on the other side of the river in Newcastle, and then obviously you don't have to deal with them too much, but Middlesbrough doing so well in the Championship as well. So it's just absolutely class to be a part of Northeast football, mate, at the minute in broadcast. But it was nice to have a couple of days away and just ignore football. And I'm sure that you're already gleaning the fact that I'm not that much into the international game. I'll put that out right now. I know as we're recording now, England kick off in an hour? I don't even know when the kick off tonight. But it's not really my bag, to be honest. I'll keep an eye on the Sunderland Newcastle players who are on international duty, but apart from that, I like to kind of have a little bit of a break before the big news of the Premier League returns this weekend.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I did speak to Jonathan Wilson about it, and I think I made my feelings kind of perfectly clear at the beginning of that podcast, if anyone wants to go back and listen to that. But yeah, I mean, look, it must have been, you're talking about a few days off, and let's just go with the Northeast in general, like you've said. But I mean, actually, the Northeast's had almost all the focus I mean,
Yeah.
Sunderland's hit the headlines with what we've done, broken all sorts of records on that side. But obviously, you've had the big deal, the big kind of summer saga at Newcastle.
Don't mention the name. Don't mention just no mention of the name.
But that, I mean, because you used to get these back in the day. I remember the almost the Figos, the Vieiras, Woody Warnty. I mean, I could probably name. There was always one every summer, and then actually we hadn't had one for quite a while. And then we've had a big saga this one. But you must have been stretched all over the place in terms of, I mean, imagine the last few years have been quiet compared to this one.
Yeah. You know what, Chris? I think I said it to you the first time I was on, but I have never been more delighted to not be that sort of reporter, transfer journalist, with everything that was kicking off on social media of who's right and who's exclusive and who's first and everything like that. I have a whole load of admiration for people like Keith, who I think Keith is deservedly taking about 3 months off at the moment, given everything that was happening around Sunderland and the different signing every couple of days and, everything that was happening around Newcastle as well. The lad worked his backside off, I think, over the last couple of months in the transfer window. So from my perspective, I was just so happy to kind of just focus on what was happening on the pitch, in the press conferences, around the player interviews. And it's just been class to get up and run with that. But yeah, from a keeping up to date perspective, I mean, it's kept us on my toes straight away at the start of the season. And you know what? Wouldn't want it any other way. Wouldn't want it any other way. There's been some really good transfer business done, on both sides of the water, but focusing on Sunderland. What an incredible transfer. I mean, when was I on the pod last? July? Middle of July?
Yeah, mid-July.
Yeah, Granit Xhaka hadn't signed by that point. I think we'd mentioned the potential of him signing. And honestly, I mean, I'm not just saying this because I'm on your podcast, but that must go down as, I think I said it on one of my TikTok videos, actually. That must go down as one of the best transfer windows, if not the best transfer window for a promoted side that I can remember to the Premier League.
Yeah.
The business done is just incredible.
Yeah. Well, it certainly broke our records. As I said before, I think we were around the, 660 million mark? I think we beat the Nottingham Forest record by about 20 million, I think, off the top.
And that's without any add-ons or anything like that. I think totaling up to 190 with potential add-ons, even though some of those are quite difficult to reach. But yeah, it's not just the not just the quantity, not just the prices paid. It's the quality signed from Sunderland. Like, the deals being done are just very, very good deals. And I'm sure we'll go into a few, but I mean, I'm going to pick one out of left field right straight away. Robin Roofs.
Yeah.
Robin Roofs, he could be a real game changer, I think, this season. Omar Alderete, I know we can focus on Granit. We can maybe focus on the midfield, your Nodi Mukielis. And we're yet to see what happens with the transfer deadline day signings. And I'm very intrigued by a couple of them. But yeah, Robin Roofs and Omar Alderete, I mean, for the price Sunderland paid, they are really quality additions. It reeks, Chris, of smart recruitment, clever planning, and a project that's just been put and executed down on paper. And I have to say, that's why I think, I'm just going to go out and say it is the best transfer window from promoted side I can remember.
Yeah. I mean, I did describe it as, whatever happens, it's historic, because I think even in 20 years' time, we'll be coming back and talking about this transfer window, if you like, and not just how much was spent on what we're trying to do. But if you do compare it to that Nottingham Forest one, and I remember that one, 2022, I think it was, and that one felt like a scattergun. Let's just get as many players as we can who have played at a decent level. We seem to have looked at it as a bit of a jigsaw and said, right, well, we need 2 there, we need 2 here, we need 2 there. And we've gone about it very methodically in terms of filling those gaps.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one to reflect back on the Forest one, isn't it? Because I remember at the time, Forest received so much bad press, some negativity around the fact that all they're doing is chucking money at it. It's a stupid idea. They're going to go straight back down. There was quite a few people eating their words by the end of that season. And obviously, I know things have gone a bit south with Forest and Nuno Espirito Santo in the last 24 hours. But, well, not 24 hours, probably the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks. But, it's one of those where you think Forest went and did that, like you rightly said, from a kind of a scattergun approach. I'm sure there was some rhyme and reason to a lot of the signings. But I'll give you one example that really, really impressed me with Sunderland this transfer window. And that's the saga. Do we use the word saga? Probably not, given everything that's happened in black and white, I imagine.
Yeah.
That took it to a whole new level. But the situation surrounding Mark Hugh and Chelsea, great loan signing that was for Sunderland, I thought at the time, and a player that Regis Le Bris could definitely get a tune out of. Really young, but a goal scorer, Premier League ready, who's got a point to prove, obviously, for his parent club, Chelsea. Obviously, what happens at Chelsea happens. They recall him. What was it? 24 hours? I think Sunday night of Mark Hugh going back to Chelsea, within 24 hours, Sunderland, Christian Speakman, Florent Gazolfi, Kirill Louis-Dreyfus had come together. Bam, straight into Ajax. Brian Robbie signed for 23 million euros. That is how to do transfer business. And that smacks to me of a club that, I'm not going to accuse them of this, but let's go down the route of the Forest Scattergun approach, or clubs that have done it in the past, because they have. And that, compared with just that crystal clear vision and the crystal clear execution that Sunderland had in just that situation. Any other club might have panicked maybe a little bit and gone, well, we don't want to rush into something on just because it's transfer deadline day. Maybe it's elevated fees. No, they'd clearly done their business scouting Brian Robbie. He's done very, very well for Ajax. Obviously, last season seemed to be a bit of an anomaly given his personal issues, I think, last season, which I don't know if you've done much reading into it, seemed very, very heavy, what he was going through off the pitch. But they've clearly done the research into him and immediately just went out and got him. And that, to me, is just a very well-oiled transfer machine that is running at Sunderland. And it is so impressive to see, not just from a Northeast reporter perspective like me, but from other people I've spoken to within the industry who have looked at Sunderland and gone, bloody hell, they're not messing around. They know what they're doing, don't they? And it's just shone through all the way through. But the Gio situation was really that one that just shone a light on it for me, that this is a really, really well-oiled machine for Sunderland.
Yeah. Especially when you consider in that deal that actually we had to come to an agreement with Chelsea. We didn't have to let him go back, but we came to an agreement. I think it was only confirmed at 3:00 in the afternoon on deadline day as well that he actually was going back. So we already made those moves. And, we can then debate whether actually we were planning on bringing a fourth striker in, whether that was the plan or not. But who knows, kind of. But you're right, absolutely, when they were kind of thinking on their feet like that. But just because I remember we spoke to you and I think it was mid-July, and it was the time when Ten Hag had basically said, hands off, Xhaka, he's going nowhere.
How football changes, eh?
Unbelievable.
Manager Eric Ten Hag, Granit Xhaka, a Bayer Leverkusen player. Yeah. What are we now, 2 months later?
Absolutely ridiculous. But I remember we were kind of talking, it was a bit one of those, we probably made a cheeky bid, but hasn't come off.
Yeah.
But now he's singing Wise Men Say at the end of victories at the stadium.
I'm going to interrupt you, Chris. I absolutely love that. I put out, and I'll tell you a story actually about Granit Xhaka. And obviously, we've all seen the footage of him singing along to it and orchestrating it. And I love it when players get that involved. But that quickly into a club, Granit Xhaka hasn't just turned up with the experience and the number of Premier League games under his belt that Granit Xhaka has had and thought, you know what, I'll spout some crap about leadership. I'll talk about how we're going to suffer, but we're going to do this. I'll chuck out the old cliches. God, no, the man's walked straight into Sunderland and literally just led from the front from second one. I mean, Regis said in his first press conference, I think it was one of my questions to him, and he said he knew within literally a minute of watching Granit Xhaka on the training pitch, he's our captain. And that has shone through. So to see him doing that, singing Wise Men Say at the end of that incredible win over Brentford, which I'm sure we'll come back to, was really, really good to see. And I put up a video just of the pre-match atmosphere of the rendition, obviously, of Can't Help Falling in Love with You, Elvis Presley. And I put that up on TikTok and I checked it, I don't know what it was, half-time. It got a few views. And I think I said to you in July that my fiancée, Rebecca, who is infinitely more intelligent, pretty, stick in whatever adjective you want than me. She kind of runs my social media a little bit, and she'd said get a bit of the pre-match atmosphere at Sunderland because it was incredible on the opening day. So I got this video of the crowd singing that. And I checked it after, I was doing all right. I was getting a few views on TikTok, but not that much. Obviously, at the end of the game, given everything that happened, it was getting a few more views. And then I checked on Sunday, and all of a sudden it was up to like 600,000 views or something like that. And that is unheard of for me, can I just point out on TikTok. And we just realised 2 days ago that Granit Xhaka had put it in his story. So the man is clearly, and that's totally separate to me. It could have been anyone's video, but like that just shows to me that the man is literally on his social media with his social media team, wherever, and he's looking back at content from the Stadium of Light, from game day, from all of this, and he's obviously doing it with a big old smile on his chops as well. So to see how well he has immersed himself in the culture, in the community, and in the club that is Sunderland is just really, really refreshing to see. I know everyone puts him up there as the pin-up signing and, you know, the big signing of the summer. And yes, arguably he is because of the level of experience and know-how that he brings. But I tell you what, he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks that walk as well. And I said it, I think, on the podcast back in July. I think the types of Granit Xhaka could be the difference between Sunderland going down and staying up this season. And so far, fingers crossed, so good.
He's definitely up for the fight, which is,
And if he's listening to this and he wants to carry on sharing every single one of my TikTok videos, then feel free, Granit. Feel free, mate.
Or an exclusive interview, one of the two. You know,
yeah. I know he's a big Howie the podcast listener. So
Oh, of course. Who was?
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Heather is a nurse practitioner from United Healthcare.
We meet patients wherever they live.
During a house call, she found Jack had an issue.
Jack's blood pressure was dangerously high.
It was 217 over 110.
So they got Jack to the hospital and got him the help he needed.
He had had a stent placed in his heart, preventing a massive heart attack.
If it wasn't for my guardian angel, I wouldn't be here.
Hear more stories like Jack's at UnitedHealthcare.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan, area, limitation, and exclusions apply.
And who isn't? But you've mentioned it. Let's go back to the opening day of the season, because you were of course lucky enough to be covering that. You were at the Stadium of Light. It's probably the biggest game on that opening Saturday in the Premier League in terms of kind of the atmosphere. But how did you find the build up and the anticipation of kick off that day? Because I think the club had helped to build it up as well.
I said this to you before, I think, not even on a podcast, just when we were talking. And what the club is doing off the pitch is absolutely superb. And the Wearside Roar as well, you know, what they're doing kind of in the stands is absolutely fantastic. I'm a sucker for a tifo, sucker for a flag display. I love seeing that, and I don't think many people do it better than us in the Northeast. But what the club are doing off the pitch to build that, and I think I said it, I'll come back to this in a second in more detail, but I think I said it, again, probably on a TikTok video, but certainly like in Premier League capacity, that there are a few clubs in the Premier League that actually get that pre-match build-up just as right as Sunderland do. You know, you've got the classical music that kicks in, then you've got Republica, then you've got Elvis Presley kicking in, and it is just spine-tingling to see that. So on the day, I'll be honest with you, I turned it on, I was so excited because it's a huge day for Sunderland, huge day for North East. My uncle's, in the crowd. My dad's listening to BBC Radio Newcastle, probably at home. But my uncle's in the crowd, and he's really looking forward to it, obviously, and everything. It's just such a fantastic day for the fans to go and experience that. And my very first sight was seeing my floor manager, Kieron Brady, good friend of your podcast, Mr. Brady, literally just outside signing autographs as far as the eye could see. And you know what? At St. James's, when he's my floor manager at St. James's, he doesn't sign any autographs over there, funnily enough. But at the Stadium of Light, he couldn't move. I said to him, I'll just head inside, shall I? He was like, yeah, I'll be in there in a couple of minutes. I was like, I'm not banking on that. So went inside, caught up with a few people, which is great. Had a chat with Guy Mowbray, who's just a great bloke, his Guy. Fantastic. One of the best commentators out there, but just a fantastic bloke, about how good it was to have Sunderland back up there. And I think we sat pitch side just in the dugout, just, we'd done a little bit of prep, a little bit of work. I sat with him and Stephen Wyeth, who's a good friend of mine at the BBC. He was on commentary for Final Score, I think, that day. And we were just chatting about the atmosphere and how much Sunderland just belong in the Premier League. Little did we know what was coming in terms of the TIFO, in terms of the actions on the pitch, and obviously the way it all went on the day, which is as perfect an opening day as you could possibly get. But I remember him saying to me that they just seem to know what they're doing here now at the club, don't they? I said, yeah. From my kind of perspective, spending a bit of time around the club in the summer and obviously doing the press conferences and the player interviews, you can just get the sense that they're not just talking for the sake of it. They're actually saying a lot as well. And just the way the atmosphere was perfectly built up all the way from probably about 2:30 up until the lads appearing on the pitch was just just indicative of why Sunderland belong in the Premier League. And I know you've got to play your part on the pitch as well and get the results and all of that. But there's a lot more to being a Premier League club than obviously just results and just performances. It's how you operate off the pitch as well. And I just thought that was a real indication of how well Sunderland belong in the top flight and need to stay up in the top flight. It was just a wonderful, wonderful day. Great moments littered all the way through it. And then obviously you look at it and you think, well, can't back that up surely. And obviously it was the Burnley defeat, which was, I think, pretty disappointing in terms of how that turned out. It could have all been so different, obviously. But then to back it up with that Brentford win in the manner that they did is a sign of a very, very good team. And yeah, long may that one come to.
Yeah, just on that West Ham game, because we were, as I said, we were talking before we started recording, and actually, if you look at that West Ham game, because look, we had to remember that West Ham were a full team of international players worth a hell of a lot of money. They signed players for 50, 60 million in the last few years, if not more. Now, if you look at that side and you look at the way the game went, and that we started off bright, West Ham came back into it. Then Graham Potter made a little change about 20 minutes in. They had a good 20-minute spell where they were on top. Now, we were talking just before we start recording on Regis Le Bris, and we're talking about us being a Premier League club off the pitch and trying to be a Premier League club on the pitch. Now, we were talking about tactically how he's now kind of earning his coin in the Premier League, where like the example is that West Ham game, Graham Potter changes something and he has to respond.
Yeah, he is so impressive. He has been so impressive so far this Premier League season. Not just from the perspective of what he did tactically against West Ham and Brentford as well, from a home game perspective, but also what he's learned so far, Chris. He's learned things very, very quickly. He responds to things very, very quickly on the pitch. You mentioned the Graham Potter tactical tweak. I remember exactly seeing that on the day and thinking that could make an interest. And he immediately responded. A couple of subs came on, change matters. I think he stretched Habib Diarra and basically told him, long runs, get behind that. They've pushed up a little bit more. And to do that and to have to have the balls to do that in your very, very first game as a Premier League manager, because let's not forget, just because he's a manager doesn't mean that you're not going to get nervous, and just because it's his very first game at the top flight and one of the best leagues in the world, and he's out there kind of showing what he can do. And I just think some of his decisions so far have been so good and so rapid as well. He's made them quickly, hasn't pondered them like I've seen quite a few managers do, and by then West Ham could have scored, or that tactical change could have taken effect. I just think what Regis Le Bris is doing is just very, very impressive indeed. I like the way that he seems to have obviously settled on his midfield. His defence, obviously, we'll see. I like the quick decisions that he's made. I feel a bit sorry for Anthony Patterson, and the players who have got Sunderland to where that they are. Pato's a great, great lad and a very, very good goalkeeper. But Regis Le Bris brought in Robin Roofs and just put him as number one straight away. That was it. No questions asked. He's in. Granit Xhaka, he's captain, guaranteed. I'm going to start the wingers straight away. Obviously, a brand new midfield three. And I just think the way he's kind of reacted to things in games has been very, very good indeed. And at this sort of level, I think one of the most important things that a promoted side can do to survive is have a manager where you stick with them. And obviously, if you're losing every single week, that becomes a lot more difficult. If you haven't got 6 points from 9, it becomes a lot more difficult. But I think the fact that Sunderland are on 6 points from 9 are a lot to do with Regis Le Bris and his decisions, tactically and selection-wise. Just a very impressive start. I've liked what I've seen from Regis, both on the touchline and in the press conferences as well. I think he's a very, very, just a really engaging sort of personality. He'll always kind of have that little bemused smile on his face. He'll give you a little tidbit here, he'll give you a little tidbit there, but won't give too much away. He's a very, very good manager indeed, a very good coach. And I think obviously, helped out by Luciano Vulcano now as well. I think he's building that team around him too, that is really starting to show in how Sunderland are playing. And if you've got a manager who can make those tactical decisions as quickly as he does and as quickly as the coach and staff do, I think that's worth probably about 10 to 12 points per season. And obviously, if you want 38 to stay in the league, it all adds up.
Yeah, that's it. And you've already mentioned the Burnley game, which probably did a really good job to keep our feet on the ground, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was a really good reminder about how tough this season's going to be. And if you look at the Burnley game, and just like the West Ham game, where West Ham had early chances in that one, I think Bourne had a good chance. And in this one, Mayenda had a good chance for us in the first half. So it's a good reminder that actually, even though people might point to that fixture list, it's a good reminder that defeat against Burnley, we're in a dogfight this season. And actually, with these games, if you get the big moments on your side, then actually majority of the time you'll come out and get at least some points.
Absolutely, and a reminder as well that the Premier League just doesn't give you any does not give you any inch. I mean, Burnley, fair play to them, have gone, beaten Sunderland, gone to Manchester United as well. They've done well so far. I still have Burnley finishing bottom, but that's just a personal belief. But from that perspective, I think it wasn't actually the worst thing that could have happened to Sunderland in that sense, because you can easily get carried away with a game against West Ham, which, like we said, that was on a knife edge for 45 minutes or so. West Ham had the chance in that opening 45. Sunderland then obviously took the lead through Mayenda, and from there on just started to take control of the game. Obviously at Burnley, like you say, Mayenda misses that chance. That's a completely different game. But it's one of those days where actually I was at Huddersfield, I think, for 5 Live that day. And the scores were trickling through. And after a bit of, it's a pity because you look on paper and think at least a draw would have been a really good, just to stay unbeaten at the start of the season. But then you're driving back and you're thinking, you know what? It sounds weird, but that actually might not have been the worst thing to have happened. It might have just grounded them straight away. And like we've just talked about with Regis, but also with the players as well, they're obviously the types of players that learn very, very quickly from, I won't go as far as saying mistakes, but from games where they haven't maybe performed or executed exactly what they wanted to do. And I think games like that are really important at the start of the season, just to keep grounded a little bit. Whether the result against Brentford would have happened if it hadn't been for that, who knows? Completely different game. But I think it just allowed Sunderland and the players just to kind of get grounded again and reset and to go again. And I think I asked Regis about that in his press conference pre-Brentford. I asked him about the lessons learned. And he kind of half smiled and immediately said, we'll always learn lessons. We are always going to learn lessons. But that game, there's plenty that we can learn from. And I'm confident that the lads will. And I just thought then, I was like, that's not just lip service, is it? It's not lip service. However, I also did ask him about how he felt about the entirety of Mexico supporting Sunderland.
Yeah,
So in fairness, what's the value in my questions, Chris?
I did say that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not ask a manager.
Yeah.
I told you in July. Any Sunderland fans listen to those press conferences, I will try and ask at least one question that is not about tactics, that is not about transfers or the next game or the previous game. I want to ask the fun stuff that people want to know. And the reaction of a manager as to why the entirety of a country is supporting a random European side, I think needs to be asked. It's in the public interest. So
absolutely. Get the important ones in there.
Across, but I want to get next because I think that's just a tremendous story.
Absolutely. Get the important questions in there.
Exactly.
But you were in the privileged position of being in attendance for the Brentford game as well. So you were at the first 2 home games. And I had a slight worry that, the first game was about the anticipation of Premier League football coming And I thought, is the atmosphere going to drop off a little bit? But actually, it was kind of more the same. And maybe that Burnley result put a bit of edge back into it. But how important is it going to be that we do generate that sort of atmosphere moving forward? Even, we're going to the dark nights and through the winter and some of those games, that we've still got that atmosphere, because our home form, as it's kind of already shown, that could kind of keep us up, really, couldn't it?
I'll tell you what, Chris, the best bit of atmosphere on that day happened when Brentford went 1-0 up. And it's something that I've seen before at Premier League clubs where, they have that sort of special atmosphere, shall we call it. And when Brentford scored, there was this huge, huge noise. And the players went back to the centre circle to kick off. And I just remember thinking, this is one of those instances where a crowd goes one of two ways. They either kind of get on the back of the team, or they get right behind them. And Stadium of Light certainly got right behind them. And obviously, Sunderland go and turn it round, which was absolutely tremendous. But yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is just going to be such a huge thing. The home form is going to be such a huge deal. I said this to you back in July, without half the 14 signings. I mean, I call it 15 signings because of the GU deal, but I understand why people would say 14. But I said this back then, that there is no Premier League club that is going to enjoy going to the Stadium of Light. The distance, the cold nights, obviously in December, but most importantly, that noise, that vociferous, raucous bear pit of an atmosphere that the Stadium of Light can be. There is no club that enjoys that. And the Brentford players, no matter how experienced, would have heard that after going 1-0 up. And I'm not saying it was the only reason for it. There were a whole myriad of different reasons for that comeback. But honestly, it got the players up. And for the players to show that spirit on that day, I think that for me was a much more important and impressive result than the West Ham one. And I know that might sound a bit ridiculous, because fans might go, well, hang on a minute, we didn't keep the clean sheet. We didn't win it comfortably, any of that. No, it doesn't matter. In the Premier League, you ain't going to win every single game 3-0. You're going to have to show fight. You're going to have to show spirit. And I've seen so many promoted teams in the Premier League not show those things and go straight back down. And that day, I think a few people around the country sat up and went, that wasn't a bad Brentford team. And Sunderland have come back to win that 2-1. And that's the sort of fight that you would want to see. I think that would have pleased Regis Le Bris the most out of that game. And I tell you what, we can't get off this podcast without talking about Wilson Isidor. I mean, just, I remember, I'll tell you one thing, right, Chris? On that day, we always have to, I nearly called it Matchday Live. It's Premier League Live now. It's our flagship program. And we always have to kind of text into the match manager, Ed at Sunderland, or floor manager, Kieron, basically pointing out which player we'd like in our post-match interview. And 1-0 down, I'd started to text across, and I was like, I should really leave this, but I'm going to text across, and I'll probably, want to speak to Granite as the captain after the game for Sunderland, and for Brentford, it's probably going to be Sharda or somewhat. Or it was going to be Robin Roos, I think, at Sunderland for Sunderland because of the penalty save. Obviously, Enzo Lefebvre scores the penalty, so immediately I'm on the phone and I'm texting down to Kieron. I'm like, scrap that. Enzo Lefebvre. I don't care if the BBC want him. Premier League want Enzo Lefebvre for post-match. And then Wilson Isidor comes on. And I'll be honest with you, Chris, I'll divulge a little bit. I was so happy to see him have, I think it's his second child, is it not? He's already got a son. I'm testing you now, aren't I?
I'm not sure. I know it was a daughter this time, but
I'm not sure
it was a first or not.
I think it's second child. And I saw it on the Friday night. I was at a gig at Kingston Park hosting, and I was leaving. I saw that, and I just dropped Wilson a message just to say, massive congratulations, fantastic news. I replied saying, thank you so much, incredible night, etc., etc. And I'll be honest with you, Chris, I genuinely thought there was no chance in hell he's going to be anywhere near the squad tomorrow. He's going to be absolutely knackered, isn't he? And he was in the squad. And I just thought, and I think I tweeted this out actually on the, or X'd it out, or whatever the hell you say these days. And I put it out when he came on. I was like, he couldn't. There's a story in here somewhere. And honestly, when he let that, and I've never got to my phone quicker. Probably the only time I ever got quicker was when Rebecca stupidly said yes to agree to marry me. And I was on my phone so quickly to text my family or anything. But I was on my phone so quickly that day to Kieron. I was like, Wilson Isidor, 100% get Wilson Isidor for this post-match interview. but BBC want. I don't care what BBC want. Let's have Wilson Isidor as a flash interview straight off the pitch. And I will say this right now, Chris. I said it on the day and I'll say it again. That is probably one of, if not my favourite post-match interview that I have done. I really like Wilson as a person anyway. I think he's a top bloke. And to see what he's doing so far and then to see him come in. And he had his head in it. As soon as he came into the interview room, he had his head in his hands. He was like, oh my days, what's just happened? What's just happened? And he was trying to process it. And me probably being a little bit of a shit, I don't know if I can say that, but I immediately thought, great, get him in front of the camera because he's gonna say some brilliant things here. And he did straight away. His interview was just, I think I had a smile on my face all the way through the interview, just watching him, he couldn't stop smiling, obviously, after the week that he'd had. And it was just so beautiful. And for him there was one line that stuck out to me, and it does to this very, very day, and it will do for the rest of the season. And he immediately was like, in amongst all this hysteria about scoring a winner in the 95th minute, having his daughter born the previous night, his birthday, all of it, he still turned around to the camera and was like, and that most importantly is for Sunderland fans.
Mm.
That is for the Sunderland fans for texting me, Instagramming me, tweeting me last night, saying congratulations. That's my thank you to them. That's it. And I thought, that's a beautiful line. That is an absolutely beautiful line from such a stellar person. I'm just really pleased to see him doing so well. So honestly, yeah, I think a lot happened that day, but nothing came close to chatting to Wilson post-match immediately off the pitch. It was great.
I was deep in it, gaming on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. Unfolding the screen made it twice as big and so immersive, I kinda lost myself. Might have trolled a little too close to the sun. Someone in the chat told me to touch grass, so I took my Z Fold 7 outside and kept playing. Still won, got a tan, and a nice little reset. Powerful processor, realistic graphics, you stay locked in, streak stays alive. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it.
Are you playing me off?
That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac extra value meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.
Yeah. It's funny because last time we talked about players not having seemingly any emotion and them having all that trained out of them and being told the lines that they have to give after games. And he came out, but it blew up because all the Sunderland fans loved it and everyone responded to it.
Because you want to hear that though, don't you, Chris? We've said this before, but you want to hear a player who literally has his head in his hands going, oh my days, what's just happened? What has just happened? And I said to him, I hope you're going to remember what happened in about 30 seconds time, because that camera is going to go live and you're going to have to speak in front of a worldwide audience about this. And, he's laughing about it. And he's like, no, it's absolutely incredible. It's this, it's that, it's the other. And some of the things, when he said he hasn't slept, it was like a shot of adrenaline when he scored. I'm so proud, but this is for my baby. This is for the fans. This is for my partner. And I mean, I think I had someone kind of nudging me and saying, God, it's not got one like last question, which is always the case for every single person dealing with it. So I was like, right, fine, last question. I know it needs to be quick. And I just thought, you know what? I'll ask him it. I was like, well, you've just scored your second Premier League goal of the season, last minute, a winner against Brentford at the Stadium. Your daughter's got to be a Mackham now, hasn't she? She's got to be a Sunderland fan. He was like, and he looked at me. I thought, what's he going to say? He looked at me a bit quizzically and was like, of course. My daughter's a Mackham. Yes. And then started laughing. And honestly, it was just, I think I did a TikTok afterwards, just which I always do, obviously coming out of the game and kind of sharing my post-match thoughts. And I think about 80% of it, Chris, was just dominated by me coming out of that post-match interview and just being happy for him as well. So, yeah, a really, really sensational sort of day for him and for Sunderland. And It's that sort of feeling, that sort of emotion in a post-match interview and from the players that needs to be bottled up and just taken through the rest of the season. Because honestly, it's a joy to witness at the minute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, let's take kind of Wilson Isidor as that kind of example. And
Yeah.
Obviously you've been in and around kind of the players and seen them in and around the tunnel maybe. But one of the worries, obviously, you bring in all of those players and, you saw the team spirit last season that got us through, last minute goals. And then if you look at the starting 11, I think what were there 2 or 3 in the starting 11 for West Ham? And it's reducing all the time. And you've got Wilson Isidor, you've got characters like that not being able to get in. I mean, are you kind of surprised that even though that could all go wrong and that could fall apart and people could have gripes about it, that we still seem quite close-knit when you see them on the pitch?
It's a great point. I'm going to tell you it straight away. My answer is yes, 100%, because the number of players and the various different characters, as good characters as they are, they're all different people. And they seem to just get on so well off the pitch. I bumped into Michael Bridges obviously, Sunderland fans know very, very well. He's an absolutely great bloke, a wonderful bloke is Michael, and developing a really good career on commentary at the moment. He does commentary for our World Feed service for the Premier League, co-commentary that is. And I bumped into him in the press conference afterwards, and he said that exact same thing. He was like, the biggest surprise that I have is how quickly these players seem to be gelling, not just personally with each other, but most importantly, their link-ups, their combinations on the pitch as well. And I think that is testament to the players, most certainly, absolutely. But it's testament to the coaching staff and Regis Le Bris, and it's testament to the recruitment team for picking the right players to buy. And all of that you are seeing the fruits of when they are producing performances like they did against Brentford. He said he was utterly shocked to see how well they played against Brentford at times and to see the combinations that they were going through. And I just think that is probably, if I was to pick one biggest plus point of the season so far, it is that. Because it's an easy thing to say, we'll just buy 15, 14 players and it'll be great because they're all good players. They'll be able to play together. If only football was that easy. It's a lot of extra hard work on the training pitch and obviously off both pitches as well to try and get the lads getting along with each other. And you can just see that they do. I think I said this like I said to you before, I do all of these kind of videos on TikTok after the press conferences where I'll kind of do the headlines from Regis and after every single interview that we do as well, just doing a top 3 takeaway from each interview. So if you are on TikTok, Sunderland fans, follow me. So if Rebecca is listening to this upstairs, that's me just promoting it ever so slightly. All the followers, the better. But I said in one of those videos, seriously speaking, that I just asked Regis about this, how they're gelling together. And he said, when they're good people and good players, they gel. And that sums it up absolutely perfectly for me. And I talked at length about that in one of the post-presser videos, about how impressive that was. And again, it's the spirit. It's the spirit of, it's the commercial team's best dream, isn't it? Coming up with the till the end slogan. And what is it? 5 of the last 6 games, Sunderland have scored last-minute winners.
Yeah.
Or last-minute goals, anyway, let's say. I don't know. I didn't realise a commercial team could have such a big impact on the pitch. But clearly, whatever they're doing at Sunderland is working. But it's clearly working, and I think that, seriously speaking, is a result of having the right players and seeing them gel so well together. It really, really was. It's been tremendous to see. Absolutely tremendous to see.
And apologies, I'm an old fella, so I haven't got a clue what TikTok is or never been on it or anything like that.
What, you mean you don't already follow us, man, Chris? How are you? Play the game.
I wouldn't know wouldn't know where to start, I'll be honest with you. As Bud Moore might have put it, what is it? I'm a fading fingerprint on an abandoned handrail.
Bud Moore has said it, it's definitely true.
Absolutely. So, but on the Regis Le Bris, because obviously you're talking about the fantastic job he's done. Obviously, he's been nominated for Manager of the Month in the Premier League.
Yes.
Alongside Maresca, some Scottish fella at Everton, and Slot as well at Liverpool, of course. Yeah. But I imagine that sort of stuff. Seeing what type of fella it is, I imagine he just hasn't even almost acknowledged it. It's kind of just, okay, that's going on over there.
No, I don't think you will have done, which is probably going to render one of my questions at the press conference this week. I won't tell you what I'm going to ask, just kind of keep an ear out for it, because I'm definitely going to ask something around it. But I imagine that's just going to render that completely pointless. When I imagine Regis will just turn around and say, yeah, it's lovely. It's nice to be nominated, but I'm not interested in that sort of thing. I'd much rather have 3 points against Palace at the weekend, or whatever he'll end up saying. It's one of those sorts of things which I think is lovely to recognise, and I think it's great for the fans as well to be able to kind of jump on social media and obviously have their manager up there alongside, the Premier League winning manager from last season. Of course, some manager who's got nothing to do in history with Sunderland, I imagine, down at Everton. And Maresca as well, wasn't it, at Chelsea? Yeah. At Chelsea as well. That's brilliant to see Regis Le Bris alongside Moyes, Maresca, and Slot. I think that's tremendous. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna affect it too much. If I'm honest, Chris, I think obviously the players of a month will be getting sorted out as well. I mean, Wilson Isidor's got the best XG in the Premier League, hasn't he, at the minute, in terms of what he's come up with. And I think one of the names that I was going to mention on this podcast is actually, I was about to say he wasn't one of the new signs, but he was. I keep forgetting, but Enzo Lefebvre. I thought Enzo Lefebvre was magnificent against Brentford. I thought he was player of the match by a comfortable distance. He was so good. And I think Simon Adingra has got a little bit of a battle to get that place back in that team. Horse for courses, different teams will call for different selections, but Enzo Lefebvre was superb that day. But yeah, Regis Le Bris, manager of the month. It's not a bad start, is it? August, 6 points out of 9. You're nominated for manager of the month. It's a pretty dream start to life in the Premier League, and just long may it continue.
That's it. And if you'd said a couple of years ago would have a 20 million player sitting on the bench, I would have thought you were absolutely mad. But Palace up next, and on paper, I mean, I think this is kind of the toughest test, I think, on paper, even though they've had their issues in the summer.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that people gloss over very, very easily because it's Crystal Palace. But we not forget, Crystal Palace who won the FA Cup. Crystal Palace, when anyone asks, well, where's the loudest atmosphere or most difficult atmosphere in the Premier League, you immediately go to, I don't know, Anfield. Sorry for saying this, but you immediately go to St. James's or you go to a Stadium of Light. Not many people say Selhurst Park, and I don't know why. Because Selhurst Park is a really difficult place to go when Palace have got their tails up. And the Gay situation, I think, is going to go one or two ways. I mean, the Gay situation with, I don't know whether you choose to believe what happened around Oliver Glasner on transfer deadline day and, any threats or anything like that were made. But Gay's obviously still a Palace player. He's a super professional person and player as well. He'll continue playing as he has done for Palace. Playing for the badge and playing for the captain's armband. That is a tough game for Sunderland. And I'll be honest with you, it's one of those games where I kind of jolt from side to side. On the one hand, I look at it and go, that's a game that could play into Sunderland's hands a little bit in the fact that Palace will play onto them to a certain extent. And Sunderland do like playing that counter-attacking sort of style of play. They've got a very compact shape about them, good off the ball, good structure behind them. That might play into their hands. But on the other side, you've got a Crystal Palace side that are just very, very good at Selhurst Park. So if Sunderland, I think, can get a point from Selhurst Park at the weekend, I think that will speak as many volumes as coming from behind to beat Brentford or beating West Ham on the opening day of the season. Because then obviously it's going into the Villa game at Stadium of Light on the following Sunday, which will be interesting given Villa's troubles at the moment. So yeah, I think a point would be an excellent result right now and snap the hand off for a point. I'm not saying that defeatist. I just think it is probably in the top 3-4 stadiums that are most difficult to go to in the Premier League and get a result.
I'd snap your hand off right now if somebody offered me a point. I'd be absolutely over the moon with a point at Selhurst Park. But yeah, the action is getting back underway this weekend, of course. So have you got your assignment? I imagine staying in the northeast. Are you covering Newcastle Wolves?
I am. It's brilliant this season. I'll tell you now, Chris. I tend not to go too far afield. If Sunderland are at home, it's Sunderland. If Newcastle are at home, it's Newcastle. So if anyone's listening to this from Premier League Productions who keeps booking me, thank you so much, guys. I'm so much enjoying this season already. It's just class to be, like I said to you back in July, putting Northeast football back on the map again and seeing what's happening at both clubs to different degrees. It's just tremendous to see. So yeah, I'm at Newcastle Wolves this weekend, and then following that up with obviously Sunderland against Aston Villa the following Sunday, which is a game I'm really, really looking forward to be honest. I think that could be a really good game of football. And then I think the weekend after, I'm nowhere actually. I think I'm double booked on that weekend, which is a bit of a nightmare. But anyway, a slight weekend off. But yeah, really good start of the season, obviously on both fronts from my perspective, Chris. And just like I said to you on the first podcast, 8 years I've been doing this gig, and the first season to have 2 Northeast teams in the Premier League has been class so far. And I just hope it continues as it goes. But yeah, hopefully it's the first of many seasons that we've got that red and white v black and white rivalry up in the Premier League.
Yep. And sounds like you've got a couple of corkers next couple of weeks. So enjoy those. And it just leaves me to say absolutely brilliant once again, Andy, and an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much for your time.
Lovely stuff, Matt. I will look forward to collecting that hat-trick ball. Never. You will probably never invite me back on this now. I've told you that, I never get invited back after one episode. So after a second, fingers crossed I get a hat-trick ball, but I won't hold my tongue.
We'll have to have a chinwag and see what we're going to do for people's hat trick on the pod. But no, absolutely brilliant, Andy. Thanks again, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers, and thanks again for everyone for listening. Just very quickly, just because Martin and Gav got caught up in what a dreamboat Luke O'Nien is, and quite rightly, the other day on a podcast, they forgot to mention that because this we've now gone over 200 episodes in How We're the Podcast. And we started in, I think it was the beginning of April or maybe right at the end of March. But we just wanted to say thank you very much for everyone who has listened. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate all the feedback, of course. Go on, Andy.
Can I just say, that is absolutely incredible. I was literally about to say there anyway, like, keep doing the great work that you guys do. But, geez, that's some hit rate. Like, fair play to you. Honestly, the content is just quality. Keep it up, Matt. That's top work, Matt. That's sensational. Great job.
And much appreciated, Andy. And I'll give you that. I'll give you that 20 quid after.
I'll I was after.
Oh, that was it. All right. I knew there was something out. Knew there was something out of the transfer for the comment. But no, I appreciate it. And again, we really do appreciate everyone for listening. We appreciate the feedback and any comments you've got. We are, of course, hopefully it won't be long before we get to the next milestone, but we thought we'd put that out there. And of course, we'll have all of the build-up and all of the previews coming before the Palace game at the weekend, either on the Roker Report website or, of course, our daily releases on How We're the Podcast. But from us, bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.